Welcome to The Real Deal, where it's all about real estate and related businesses in central Massachusetts and northeastern Connecticut. And now, your host, Anthony Shabbat of Shabbat & Associates.
Hey everybody, and welcome to the Real Deal Real Estate Podcast. My name is Anthony Shabbat with Shabbat & Associates Real Estate Group of EXP.
Hi, I'm Marilyn Ackerman from Green Valley Architecture. I'm a designer architect.
I'm Cherie Green from Green Valley Architecture. I'm a designer as well.
Lirette of Lirette Investment Group.
So on today's show, we're going to take some time and introduce these two wonderful ladies that were so nice to come on our podcast today and give us some information about what it is that they do. I like to give an overview of where they grew up, where they went to school, what got them into the career that they're into, some of the projects that they've worked on, show their website, the contact information, and all that stuff. So we're going to go over all that information right now, starting with you.
Well, thanks for having us. I came from the Midwest, ironically, and ended up being kind of well-known designer on Connecticut houses, Connecticut historic structures for the National Park Service. I went to Yale School of Architecture in the late 1980s, and I had a very traditional background in architecture, did all of my work on the board, took all of my tests on the board, and so I had to layer on my computer knowledge, just recently in teaching the kids at Ellis Tech. And Cherie, my partner, who's you're going to be hearing from shortly, on the other hand, has come from an industrial commercial side and done a lot of mechanicals and HVAC drawings. And so the two of us together have a really nice mesh. We really compensate for each other's strengths and weaknesses because we both come from such a different background. Mine is residential and hers is commercial.
I came from Eastern Connecticut originally. I moved up to Maine for a few years, my college years, so I did a 2-year program up there, then moved back down this way. I ended up meeting Marilyn at Ellis, because we both teach architecture down at Ellis Tech, and finishing my bachelor's and master's right here at Eastern.
Excellent. Okay. So let's go over some of the things the first thing I like to do usually, and I'll pull up your website for this portion of it, I like to go over your contact information to get started with. So let's see, here's the screen about to load there, and then we can show your website. What is your web address, and then your phone number and your email address?
greenvarc.com is our web address. Our contact phone number is 860-576-0285.
Okay, and then how can people get in touch with you, and maybe somebody wants to work with you guys, what type of projects do you work on?
Well, we do all kinds of projects. We do small commercial projects, we do museum projects open to the public, we do residential projects, we've done many modern houses, but my background, again, has always been in historic preservation, so we do both reproduction and restore old houses. We've done very new houses. Recently, we've done quite a bit for some developers and local builders. So in all, we pretty much encompass a very nice, round, diverse clientele.
Wow, this is really nice. Do you have an area that you specialize in primarily of Connecticut, or you work in other
I
states?
feel like I've worked in almost every town in the state of Connecticut. I've had lots of, Gold Coast, Fairfield County big houses, sometimes too big for my comfort zone. And then I've done tiny houses, and we've done bathrooms. We've done very small kitchen bathroom restorations. So I really like to do all kinds of projects, and I know Cherie's the same way. And again, Cherie layers on very efficient computer design, so what would have taken me hours on the board now takes a lot less time because Cherie is so good on the computer.
And the programs we use are actually really amazing. Like, you can literally fly through a house 3-dimensionally and see like all the different design aspects, create your wall sections and be able to show that. The programs are really rather, they're much better compared to like when it was just 2D AutoCAD.
Right,
So.
and you can actually do a video of walking through your design, which is very different from the old days when it was all on the board.
I know something similar. We do Matterport for clients. So when we go out and we get a listing, we offer that complimentary. So it is a nice feature with the computer to literally, when Tony does a Matterport and the finished project, basically you can just walk through this whole the whole house, the whole commercial spot, wherever, and just basically really get a feel of how it is. So I definitely think that's an important aspect. He was doubting it at one point. I said, well, why do I even do this? And I said, and I think in the COVID times, I think it really came out huge.
Yeah.
Where it's just a different thing that you can offer a client.
Right,
So,
being able to see it is so important, especially like they're, investing hundreds of thousands of dollars in these houses, and like, oh, just trust me, it's gonna look good when it's built. Like, they don't wanna hear that. They wanna know, and they wanna be like, well, what would it look like if, we did a stone, veneer on the front? Like, we can change it and allow them to see that.
Right.
So
That's
it's really
huge.
important.
That's
Right,
because we
huge,
all visual.
at an efficient cost, because in the old days, we would have to really redraw the whole thing, as opposed to just being able to shift it on the computer within seconds on the screen,
So majority of your clients are, I don't want to say antique homes, but more
Historic. Well, in my past practice, I've done maybe, I don't know, a couple hundred Connecticut houses, and a lot, again, for the National Park Service and through the state of Connecticut, which were grant funded. So I have that expertise, which is post and beam. I mean, most of the framing that I would deal with in the field would be post and beam. And so that's a special kind of expertise, even to have carpenters that can cut it and make it. And that became somewhat more fashionable a few years ago in new houses also, and barn conversions, which I've done a lot of barn conversions. And I used to be called by a lot of historical societies along the whole New England coastline, come get this house. And some historians find that very controversial because you're moving it from its as-built situation. But the reality is we teach sustainable architecture at Ellis, and what's embodied in a building in human cost, in the just virtual cost of the building, and also just the craftsmanship that you can't get anymore. To see that put into a dumpster relative to being recycled and reused, now certainly that kind of restoration is makes much more sense. So I think over time, we were talking a little while ago about the Main Street movements, and I think over time a lot of the buildings that you wouldn't have seen restored will be restored.
I think it's huge too. I mean, you look at what's going on today with malls,
Exactly.
places happening in malls and mills. Tony and I were in Florida in February, and most mills that you see around here are looking to become apartments.
Right.
But we went to a mill, an old mill there, and it was a modern, smaller version of Quincy Market.
Yeah.
So you'd walk in and there was a brewery, a restaurant, several different restaurants, an ice cream parlor, and a courtyard for people to enjoy all these different flavors. And I personally have talked to a couple people around here to kind of create some atmosphere like that. I think that would be huge around here to
Right.
really offer that.
And we are recently just been getting a few of those clients that are asking for that type of design. And I think you're going to see that more and more in the future, especially with the cost of materials going up. I think planning and zoning departments are being pickier about what gets built. And so I think you're going to see more and more urban, small town restoration.
But then it's just a low barriers of entry for some of these restaurants. Instead of creating a whole place, they're just creating a spot.
Right.
To have their establishment. But I know with Killingly is so proactive in their zoning. We have probably, I think I say it all the time, our zoning official is the best. We're very blessed to have him, and I know we try to keep him happy because
That's
other
great.
towns are like gonna,
Yeah,
gonna make a move
that's
soon.
great.
Yeah, we've been working with Killingly on a couple projects. We have a little addition and stuff, so we do we'll look at the project and, we try to keep it, to what we're comfortable with, but like little, additions and things like that around town.
Garages, we do a lot of garages. I mean, don't think because, I've done very big houses in Greenwich that I wouldn't do a bathroom.
Well, actually, that was my next question. Who are your clients? Like, is there somebody that's a typical person that lives in Northeast Connecticut? How would they use your services? How do they get involved with using you guys?
So we have a lot of local clients, and I mean, they're not like buku rich or anything. We're not like astronomical on prices. We try to work with them and do stuff that they can afford, And a lot of that has to be taken into consideration when we're actually doing the design, because like everyone has a budget,
Right.
Well, every average person has a budget. But yeah, it's just regular people like
So
living in
give me some examples.
cul-de-sacs, and we just did an addition in a cul-de-sac in Brooklyn, and then we are doing a design for a house also in Brooklyn. It's going to be down by the river. And that's a full house design that we're working on. And, we did the design, and, with all the prices and everything going up, they're like, well, we just can't afford this. So we cut back a lot. We did a lot of reiterations on that for them, so that's something that they can afford.
So now I just want to understand, do you work with builders? Are you guys the
Well,
builders? Are you
no.
the general contractors?
And I did general contracting in my past life for years. So I like to pride myself on that. Like when I teach the kids, when we talk about what we teach at Ellis, that we don't teach drafting. That would be like Colin Carpentry hammering. I mean, we teach, from the ground up, and we teach microlams, and we teach PSF and PSI and all of the things, various things structurally that you need to know with a building. And again, both Cherie and I, we love to build personally at home on our own projects. And we like to know about building. Like we're the kind of geeks that, will go to a lecture from a zoning official or,
I love it when people refer themselves as geeks, because then I know you're my people, because I'm also a geek. I come from a geek background with computers, and I love it when people geek out, nerd out on stuff.
Yeah.
I love it when you can reference like that and you're comfortable with that and you can down to earth.
So we're rather new to this area. So where Marilyn's coming from is, more southern and, New York area. So we just decided to open this up. There's no real places in the area that does design work and architecture work. Like literally you can't find anyone. It's so hard without having to go to Hartford or another city. So that's why we decided to kind of open it up in the area. And, that's the other thing is a lot of times with our students, like all the other kids at Ellis, they have the opportunity to do work-based learning, but like we have to send our kids a little further because there's not that opportunity here for them. So we are completely open to working with builders, and we're actually starting to build like a network of people that we like will use and we will refer to our customers.
good. Yeah.
But we don't do the building, but we stay involved. We do the permit sets, schematic design, all that
we
stuff
can do
the entire way through.
the estimates and down to the nails. I mean,
So what's the difference between you guys and, say, for example, civil engineers?
well, a civil engineer might know, for example, how to do the septic system and be really good at that. And I've had civil engineers tell me, lady, you can't position the house that way on the lot. And I would say to the civil engineer, the couple bought the lot for the view of the pond. So that's the difference between us and the civil engineer. Okay, so we might know that the invert has to be at a certain height for the septic system to work on this particular piece of land, but we would go through everything we could to get the view of the pond. Okay, so the aesthetics for us are a bottom line.
I work with civil engineers on a pretty regular basis. I haven't really worked with many architects, if any. I only really know one other architect from Providence, and I haven't spoken to him in a couple of years because we just haven't seen each other. So I'm not very familiar with architects. So are you specifically architects, or is there another category that you consider yourselves?
Design architecture.
Yeah.
So, yeah, she's an architect, I'm a designer, so like, you know, we'll collaborate and stuff, but mainly I'm the person that gets it all into the computer.
Okay.
And she's the person who knows, like, what are you doing? Like, you can't put a wall here. Like, we need to figure this out a little more. We need a little more detail in this. And she, you know, she does the big picture design. So this is funny, and I don't want to be like, you know, a jerk saying this, but
being
Marilyn
revealed in
says,
this podcast.
architects, you know, are all about aesthetics, but I didn't work in an architecture firm. I've worked in fire protection engineering, code consulting, like, I worked at Arden Engineering for a long time in Pawtucket, and, you know, they do all the HVAC and, you know, the plumbing, everything like that. So we actually complain a lot about architects.
But I had a design build firm for 30 years, and believe me, the carpenters complained all the time.
Yeah, it's just
I've
like,
had my prints called toilet paper.
Yeah.
So I am definitely sympathetic to that. It was one of the reasons that I loved doing design build, is that you would get that immediate feedback.
Yeah.
And you really learn. Like right out of school, I learned tremendously from being in the field. You know,
right, like they'll come to you and be like, hey lady, like you don't have enough room between the floors for a duct system, like you gotta, you know, so you gotta really, like, and that's what's great, like what Marilyn was saying between the two of us, is that like, I'm gonna be like, how's this gonna work? And then she'll look at it and she'll be like, oh yeah. Or vice versa. So
right.
it really, we level each other out, we round each other off, so.
So, did you guys, I don't know if you guys already covered this, but what towns do you live in now?
Oh, she's Sterling.
I live in Sterling, Sterling Hill, which is a little tiny burg that Rochambeau marched through with his soldiers during the Revolutionary War, and in a 1730 house.
Oh,
so
wow.
I have 6 fireplaces, and you know, that's home to me.
I absolutely love showing houses in Sterling. I've showed one client a house there, and it was built, and they still had the brick oven with the arm.
Yeah.
We went up to the 3rd floor, and they had the beams in there with axe marks still on. I mean, it was like, and like Tony said, you know, with geeking out and stuff, I was like, wow, imagine this history in this house, you know. And I mean, I know the showing was a half an hour, but we made it like 45 minutes to an hour, pointing his stuff out, and so
That's great.
it's just a great spot to show houses.
Well, and the houses, this is my pitch for old houses in northeastern Connecticut, the houses that I would work on that were comparable in Fairfield County or New Bedford, New York, or would be millions. Mm-hmm. And I was able to buy my house in the 200,000s, which was a spectacular house, and all restored. You know, I'm embarrassed to say that it was wonderfully restored, so I didn't have to do anything. But you know, that's one thing I would love to see, a kind of heightened appreciation for all the great structures we have here.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I totally agree. I actually pride myself in right now of looking at a lot of the neglected properties or dilapidated properties. I work with a lot of towns right now to try to get those, you know, fixed up, getting them back to investors that want to put some money into them.
And again, that's my favorite thing. My favorite thing isn't getting like a nice house to work on. It's getting the most horrific house to work on, because you get the greatest gratification, you know, and each house still has something special in it, something amazing, you know. And I would tell every client, you know I'm successful when I want to live in your project. You know, and when your project is my favorite project, which it usually always is when I'm working on your house.
So I have another question for you regarding pricing. I know it's always kind of a tough topic because it's always different with every person that we work with. But how does your pricing structure work, and how do you explain to clients what your fees are going to be? When do they pay? All that stuff.
So pretty much we, it's not per se by sheet. We have a standard charge that we kind of do per sheet. So depending on the size of the project, it's, you know, the cost will go up. But and it also depends on what the client wants. Like, some clients just want a permit set to be able to bring to the building department, get it approved, and get it built. Whereas other clients want, you to be with them every step of the way, even through the building process. They want, estimates, and they want
China closets and built-ins and, all kinds of things. So there are different levels.
So it's really hard to tell you what a price is.
Well, we would give the client a proposal that would have all of that outlined,
Yeah.
So say, for example, I'm working on that, just throwing this out there, the town hall in Putnam is for sale, the former town hall. They just moved over, they're moving over everything right now. So that one is for sale for X amount of dollars, and I would like to have it be converted to some other type of use, whether it's a condominiums or apartments or office space or actually.
How old's that building?
I think it's 1900 according to the property card.
So asbestos could be an issue with that?
It is.
Okay.
Well,
Yes.
so first of all, we just went through this with the client. Are there drawings on the building? Does the town have drawings? One of the things we're really good at is cut to the chase, go to the town, look up the building, see what's on file, see how good it is, how accurate it seems to be. So say it's a 20,000 square foot building, your town hall. It would be 40 cents a square foot to measure and draw that up.
The as-built,
The
so that we
as-built
have a
for the
working
town.
set to start
So
with.
we already have all the floor plans for the entire building. It was actually done on the Matterport camera that we use. So they developed the floor plans with that camera. So they have within a couple inches. It's
Yeah.
not exactly accurate 100%, but it's within a couple inches for each dimension. So it gives you a pretty good idea.
And what program are the floor plans drawn in?
It was created with a Matterport camera, and they come through as PDFs, SVGs, and PNG files. So nothing architectural about that, no DWG or anything like
Right.
that, right? Is that what you guys
Yeah.
need? Okay.
Well, I mean, there are ways, I think,
You can convert it actually from a Matterport.
from
to
a PDF, you can convert it, and there are ways to get it in, and then it'd just be like adjustments and stuff.
And
but
that
it-
would certainly save you money,
Oh, okay.
right?
Yeah, that's
If
good
we
to
have
know.
to send a team out in the field to measure everything and, be in the grimy
Oh,
basement
it's a
and that,
pain in the neck. That's why
Yeah.
the camera's a dream come true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Honestly, I've done a floor plan without that camera, and I would never want to do it again. It
Yeah.
was terrible.
So it all depends on how once we import it into the program, like, you'd be surprised at some of the stuff that doesn't actually show up, and you have to redraw.
Oh, yeah.
But it wouldn't be
Like from scratch.
right. It wouldn't be from scratch, and
Oh,
that
okay,
would make
90%
everyone's
is-
life so much
Okay.
easier. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
a huge help.
Yeah.
So once I show you the project and I tell you what we're looking to do, then how would we get started? How much would I have to give you down? Is it like a percentage of the entire project amount? Do you give us a proposal and then I say, I like your proposal, willing to move forward, and then I give you 50% down, 33% down? I don't know how that works.
We do
a third.
a third of it usually
Okay.
down, and then
Bill on progress.
yeah, we bill on progress. So say a month later we're 50% through the project, we'll bill that other 17%, and then we try to bill it in stages, so it's not all like, oh, here, bam.
Right.
You know what I mean? But
And you're happy in each stage or you're not. You find that out. So
So you would subcontract that? Would you be the general contractor on that project? Would you want to get another general contractor? How would that work for you guys?
we would probably get another general contractor.
So you would do
Yeah.
the design of it,
Right.
yeah.
and
If you wanted us to general contract it, I don't know if you offered us.
well, you never know.
Yeah, I mean, I've done, unfortunately, all you need in the state of Connecticut is $250 to
Yep.
become a
Exactly.
general contractor. So, and a 3-day right to rescind contract. So unless it's changed dramatically since,
Contractor, right?
that's not an issue really. But the issue I think would be for us is the trust level we had with you, what the parameters of the project were, how we felt about it. Is it doable? Is it, viable? Is it gonna?
That's good. All good things to talk about. Any idea, like a ballpark price range for something along those lines, just to do the design work of it, to come up with a plan for how the layout would be? Is that what you're talking about that you would be doing?
Yeah.
Structurally, looking at the load-bearing walls, all that stuff?
Yeah.
Well, first there would be space planning. I think you're talking about the design and space planning, and then
Right,
the
like how would it-
structural.
how would it be laid out?
Structural aspects are really dependent on how you might change the space planning. You know, so that would be a second layer. And with that, we have stipulated in our proposals that if we bring in a structural engineer as a consultant, you would be billed for that.
So one other thing is now the codes, like, or I should say the zoning requirements for stuff. Like, it's R7 zoning, so that means it's 7,000 square feet per unit. It's 1.1 acres of land. So you take the amount of square footage per acre, multiply it by 1.1. That gives you, I think it comes out to be 48,000 or something like this. Just under 7 units you could put there under zoning regulations. But could we apply for a variance to get that 7th unit? Could we put 10 units there? Have you had experience with getting variances and stuff?
You can apply for a variance for anything, you know.
It's whether they get approved.
If you can pay for it, and certainly, if I've learned anything in 30 years of contracting and design, it's that it is so dependent on the local building inspector, zoning board. You know, I have had things pass that I didn't think would pass, and I've had things that seemed to me so straightforward they would definitely pass, not pass.
Really, yeah.
So
their confidence in the contractor, pretty much, right? And
it's extremely subjective, though. I think I think that's always been a legal issue in the state.
all really good information. So I'm very happy with the information we got out of this one. We should probably try
I have one
to start
question.
winding it down a little bit.
Yeah, I have
We're
one
gonna go
question,
forever
though.
if we don't.
Yeah.
Is what are your thoughts on? I know popularity with storage container homes or
love 'em.
small
Yeah.
smart houses. I know I have a contractor who is really would love to get into that, and like I said before, Killingly is very proactive in new journeys with storage container homes. I know. We've always talked about it, and then all of a sudden there are actually 2 in Killingly, and I didn't even know about them.
Yeah, storage container homes in Killingly already?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
On
didn't know that
Alexander's Lake.
We just,
Oh,
Cherie
yeah.
just won an award for one of her students for storage
Yeah.
container home design with the Hartford Building Association.
So that's like right up our alley too, because like she said, we teach sustainability, and building something from something that's already there is a huge thing for us.
Yeah.
So we're super into that, and like
And also into very modern structures. I mean, I have a traditional house background, but I've also done several really modern structures. So, and I have a love for modern structures.
I love storage
So-
container homes.
They can
Yeah,
be
they're
done
so
really
cool.
nicely.
Yeah.
I've seen them kind of across the spectrum where some of them really don't look that great, but others look like, wow, they really did a great job.
And like
with
for lake houses and, vacation homes, they can be spectacular, So, yeah, the only problem, and I don't want to make this go on too long, but if you've seen, there's a 10 Best in America series on PBS, and there's the Glide House. You guys familiar with that at all?
No.
Okay, so the Glide House is really based on a container house. But this young architect designed this very simple rectangular house, and she started to mass market it. I think it's called the Blue House now. And, she wanted it to be very low cost, accessible, and it's all based on energy efficiency. And it's beautiful. It's really a beautiful house. But the reality is when the Blue House went on the market, it was 300,000 or 400,000, I think in between 300,000 and 400,000 for the Blue House. So again, relative to some houses, that's not so expensive, but I think relative to the starter home that she thought she envisioned she was designing, and I even know for myself, I priced out a container house, and putting the windows in and buying everything and cutting them in is not inexpensive.
Even if you did, I looked into modulars a little bit too. Even modulars, not very cheap, because you have the site work, you got to run all the utilities there,
Yeah.
the septic system. Running the electric service to the property is expensive sometimes.
yeah. Huge, yeah.
And you can't just change in a modular house. The changes are really tough. I
So
know.
just all the site work that's involved alone is, I don't even know what the average price for site work. Just all the prepping for the foundation and all that stuff, and then get all the utilities that you have to get in there, and the septic system, and then
Right.
you put the house on top of that, basically.
One
Yeah.
of our clients wanted to do a modular house in A-frame.
Oh yeah.
And it's a client, so I won't talk too much about it, but it's exactly that. I mean, it astronomical cost to develop the site relative to the cost of the
Well,
kit
yeah.
and putting the house on top.
Yeah.
All right, well, I'm really happy with, I think, what we got out of this, although I still feel like there's more that I need to understand about what an architect does and an architectural design consultant do together. So I feel like I have a pretty good understanding of what you guys do, but I still feel like I need some more examples of, like, here's a project that we did and it was X amount of dollars. Here's a project we did and it was X amount of dollars. Here's another one we did and it was X amount of dollars, and just show me some examples. I always love to learn from examples.
X amount of dollars meaning how much it costs from beginning to end, or X
What
amount of
you
dollars
did.
we charge?
Yeah, what you did in it and how much your fee was.
Okay.
Something like that. And then what the other fees were too, because it's kind of like, I just love to learn the whole picture of everything. But it's nice to know what was your part of it and what were the other contractors' parts of it.
Right.
But that's probably another podcast round 2 in 6 months or something like that.
Sure.
If you guys want to come back.
Sounds good.
Or we
And
could
it-
just invite them to the event on September 2nd. Definitely.
Right. Oh yeah. Well, there's an event on Thanks for the plug there.
Yeah.
So we're having a multifamily investor meeting at Waterfront Mary's on Thursday, September 2nd at 5:30 p.m. So maybe you could be involved in the development of a new construction multifamily property, or redesigning an existing multifamily property, or converting an older building into a new multifamily property, or reimagined. Mill renovations, anything like that. We have a group of investors that are going to be there. It starts at 5:30 p.m. September 2nd, Thursday, Waterfront Mary, so overlooking Webster Lake. And everybody's invited. It's free, and there's drinks and food available, and it's going to be one of the last events that you can go out there and enjoy the nice weather before the fall starts coming
Sounds
in.
great.
Sounds fun, yeah.
Yeah.
Love to have you guys show up there. For anybody that wants more information on it, you can go to Facebook and go to Chabot and Associates, CHABOT and Associates, and look at the events. It's on September 2nd, 2021. So let's wrap it up with just your contact information one more time. If you could give us your phone number, email address, and just how you prefer people to get in touch with you.
So on our website, there is a contact us button, and that goes directly to one of my emails.
Okay.
So they can use that. You can also call 860-576-0285. That's our phone number. What was the last thing I forgot?
Just phone number, email address, and web address.
Oh, okay. greenvarc.com is our website, and then greenvarc@gmail.com. You can also inquire there. So.
Love it. I love it when people do that. Have their domain name, and then they have their email address as their domain name at gmail.com. I just think that's the
Makes it easier, yes.
easiest way to
Yeah.
do it. So, all right. Well, thank you very much for being on the show. My name is Anthony Chabot with Chabot & Associates Real Estate Group of EXP.
I'm Marilyn Ackerman of Green Valley Architecture.
I'm Cherie Green of Green Valley Architecture.
And Jay Lirette of Lirette Investment Group.
Thank you guys so much for watching the show today, and we'll see you next time. Have a great day.